Are we?
Okay, everyone,
Okay.
we're ready to go now.
We're ready, Tanis. Just hold here. Okay, welcome. And we are from Pembina Trails School Division. My name is David Wall, the Educational Technology Consultant for Pembina Trails. And via home, we have Tanis Thiessen. Tanis?
Hi there, I hope you can hear me all. We're trying something different for this presentation. So as David mentioned, my name is Tanis Thiessen. I am the grade 5 to 12 mathematics consultant for Pembina Trails School Division.
And my name is Darren Outen. I am Vice Principal at Henry G. Isaac Middle School in Pembina Trails.
And I'm Peggy Hobson. I'm the principal at Henry Isaac, which is a grade 5 to 9 school in Pembina Trails.
And my name is Brandy Nicholson. I'm the teacher librarian at Henry G. Isaac Middle School.
Okay, so we're just going to make some general statements. So the massively open availability of information challenges the educational tradition. Tanis?
Okay. Documentation of learning and assessment is changing to accommodate student-driven, personalized inquiry-based learning experiences.
Our learning communities can no longer afford to focus on content delivery.
Learning is enhanced by technology, which allows for creativity, expression, and production.
And mobile technology is supporting the change of educational spaces. Keeping these 5 statements in mind, we're going to show you a video. It's called, it's about bringing the extracurricular into education. And if you think about the 5 statements that we've just made, this video nicely relates to all 5.
So are you So we're used to seeing headlines like these when we think about teens and technology, right? Cyberbullying, sexting, cell phone misuse, and other problems associated with teens and tech. But I want to tell you a different story about youth and technology. I want to tell you a story about a 9-year-old named Martha. Martha lives in Scotland, and every day she looks at her school lunch, and she says, you know, this isn't very appealing. And in fact, there's not much here. I'm still hungry. And so she starts taking pictures of her lunch, and like a good digital citizen should these days, she starts a blog, and she starts posting pictures. And like the budding foodie that she is, she starts rating her lunches, right? So 6 out of 10 on the foodometer. 4 out of 10 on the health rating. And the ever crucial pieces of hair? 0. Right? Here's another one. Here's her minced pasta. So 8 out of 10 on the foodometer, 5 out of 10 on the health rating, pieces of hair, literally, still in the clear. And interesting things starts to happen. Some people start paying attention, right? So after just a few weeks, Martha realizes, hey, my dad told me I now have 42,000 hits on this blog. I really hope one of them is the famous chef Jamie Oliver. And of course, because the internet is the internet, within 24 hours she had a tweet from him. And within a week she had a signed copy of his book. So Martha keeps blogging, right? So here's her next meal. And unfortunately, her pieces of hair streak is broken. And other young foodies start sending pictures of their lunch. So here's one from Taiwan. Look what we get for lunch. And here's one from Canada. And here's one from the Czech Republic. And by now, most Americans are thinking, look, they use real dishes. So Martha keeps getting more attention, and she gets invited to join another chef, Nick Nairn, on his cooking show, and they have a big conversation with a bunch of other important people around Scotland about the quality of school lunches. The newspapers covered the story. And unfortunately, what should have been a high moment for Martha quickly becomes a low moment because the next day, she's told by her head teacher, the head of the school, that the school council, what we would call a school board, has decreed that she is no longer allowed to take pictures of her school lunch. And of course, the internet being the internet, there was a rapid outcry, right? Jamie Oliver and others tweet in support and share their support, and pretty soon the council is forced to back down and actually do the right thing, which it should have done all the time, which is that instead of trying to censor Martha, what they do instead is they actually start taking a hard look at the quality of the school lunches they're feeding their kids, and they start earning victories in terms of being able to get more food, more healthy food, and so on. Now things really start snowballing. Pretty soon, Martha gets to meet Jamie Oliver in person. She shows up on BBC. She starts winning awards left and right, like Human Rights Young Person of the Year, Public Campaigner of the Year, and so on. She even gets to meet Bean. And most importantly, she uses her platform to raise over 200,000 US dollars, which she then gives to a group called Mary's Meals, which builds a kitchen in Malawi and uses it to help the food insecure. And the wonderful thing about the world that we live in now is that there are many, many Marthas out there. There's Emma, who, not content with blogging at age 13, decides that she needs to make a documentary profiling girls' bedrooms as a manifestation of identity formation. There's Josh, a middle schooler in Iowa who makes voice-narrated Pokemon walkthrough videos and is so good at it that by the time he graduates high school, he's got 130,000 regular subscribers on his YouTube channel, 83 million total views, and a six-figure salary heading into college. There's Tavi, who at the age of 16 decides that she and her friends just absolutely must create what is now a highly acclaimed online magazine called Rookie. There's Nick, who at age 15 creates an app and at age 17 sells it to Yahoo for $30 million. There's Maud, who, even though she's just a high school sophomore, has completely and utterly mastered the world of social media. 169,000 Twitter followers. There's Kayla, who at the ripe age of 13 has already written 27 stories and posted them on fanfiction.net. Those stories have received 4,800 plus reviews. She's written a whopping total of 500,000 words. She's only 13. There's Lauren, who decides it'd be really cool to send a Hello Kitty doll 93,000 feet up into space and video it along the way. There's super awesome Sylvia, who plays around with Arduinos and other maker projects and then posts them on GitHub, and then we'll gladly share all that with you on the Super Awesome Sylvia Super Awesome Maker Show that she started at age 8. And there's Sam, a teenager in Linmar, Iowa, who makes videos so breathtaking that they almost make you want to cry. And then there's the teens on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation in South Dakota, who are so incensed by how the ABC News special portrayed their lives that they decided to make a response video that showed that they were more than that. They were more than drugs and crime, that they were about passion and humility, about creativity and self-respect, about family and love. And by exercising their voice, they reclaimed the power that the adults around them tried to take from them. There are millions of Marthas and Joshes and Laurens in our country. And if you ask them what kind of work are they doing, they're curious and confident, they're disciplined and self-directed, they're enthusiastic and passionate, they're critical thinkers and problem solvers. These are words that apply to the robust at-home learning our kids are doing with technology. But in school, not so much. The challenge for us is, how do we take the extracurricular and turn it into the curricular? And in order to do that, we have to get beyond our fear. Our school technology environments are so locked down, they're so blocked out. We do everything we can to get tech into the hands of our kids, and then we do everything we can to prevent them from using it. We're very conflicted. As last week's Des Moines Register poll said, we couldn't even get half of the people polling to agree that we should even provide technology to kids in schools. If we want more Joshes, more Laurens, more Sams, more Sylvias, more Marthas, we have to get rid of our fear. We have to move beyond this overriding need for control of everything that they do. We have to focus more on empowerment. So here's the big idea I want to leave you with. If we want more of this to happen in school, not just out of school, if we want our in-school learning environments to be robust, technology-infused places, which they should be, then we have to give them something meaningful to work on, give them powerful devices and access, get out of their way, and let them be amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to open
Thank
with a statement from George Kouros's blog, and George is an administrator in the Edmonton School District. So he says, I was asked by someone today how to bridge a curriculum department with the technology department. And my first response was, ask them questions to understand where they're coming from. And this is the core of his seek to understand idea. And I think too many people spend too much time defending what they believe as opposed to trying to understand the starting point of others. One of the questions I suggested should be asked was, what difference does the technology have on learning in the classroom? The teacher's response would be that it hasn't changed anything. And so my follow-up question was, so why did you buy the technology? And that reminded George of the Neil Postman quote, when Gutenberg invented the printing press, we didn't have Europe plus bucks. Instead, we had a whole new Europe. If we're adding devices to our classroom environments, the opportunities should be profoundly different. They should change. If I can do the exact same thing with pen and paper, then it would be fiscally irresponsible to buy the technology. You might not be at the point in your school that you see the transformation that technology can have on your learning, but you should at least be on the path. It can't simply be a school plus technology. It should be a whole new school experience. The massively open available, and then that's the quote from George. So, the massively open availability of information changes what we know as education. Knowledge data, once controlled and distributed piecemeal by teachers to enculturate youth, is now accessible 24/7 from any corner of a classroom, from any corner of any space, from any perspective and any culture. The availability of data is creating a whole new learning space, creating whole new forms of knowledge acquisition and expression. This new learning space is the first realistic means for students to connect with civilization-wide knowledge and make their lives and work a part of it. Rote memorization, data accumulation, and standardized testing does not represent learning. It never did. Storytelling, thinking, application of ideas, creativity, and vision define learning. It can be suggested that developing complex thinking abilities in the context of the acquisition of knowledge and skill in these new spaces is the fundamental goal of 21st century learning. And next time.
She's trying to cut. Our learning communities can no longer focus on content delivery. It is not about replacing what we do with books and pens and paper with technology. It is about new ways of learning that is accessible to us. Devices are accessible to us. They are a growing reality in our environment, and our students understand them and are motivated to put them to use. We understand and talk about the increase in student engagement. We celebrate the increase in student engagement, yet we still try to limit it. Students take risks and learn and create and process in ways we do not understand. They're doing that often at home, and they would like to do it more at school. We know we can use technology to personalize learning, to improve understanding of outcomes, to increase meaningful collaboration, to realize the development of process skills and their fit with the employability skills as penned by the Conference Board of Canada. We know that technology allows our children anytime, anywhere learning, and we should be looking at it and embracing the processes and the products that the students are creating. Professionals in groups attend PD. They want to learn about the current practices, about 21st century practice, about inquiry, math manipulatives, strategies for teaching EAL learners, assessment, and engaging students who are not engaged. We align our school plans and our classroom plans with sincerity and our experience and our traditions. We attend conferences and we are inspired by what we hear, and we go back to school and we tend to do what we do best. We focus on uniform content delivery, and it's time we stopped. The disconnect is problematic. We have solutions and opportunities around us. We have students who are creating and developing skills outside of school that we are not tapping into. The video illustrated it very well. I think my very superficial example would be having our 16-year-olds take their driver's ed, pass their driver's ed, and not giving them keys to our cars.
Okay, Tanis, you're up.
Okay, my one question is whether Brandy is going to put on screen that one or pause that one particular slide.
She's doing it.
Okay, awesome. It's not just about changing what we do and how we do it. It's, as was mentioned in the quote from George Couros, we need to get out of students' way and allow them to do what they want to do and how they want to do it. There are a lot of teachers in Manitoba right now using technology at student request to share their learning in so many different ways. On screen, there are examples, just a few, half a dozen screenshots from students' contributions showing what they learned all the way from kindergarten to grade 12. We've got students in kindergarten who are Skyping each other and talking about their learning together. We've got students in grade 3 who were fascinated by the Olympics and connected via Twitter to get their answers to their questions in real time. We've got students in grade 6 who are tracking their learning and showing it to their parents via Instagram and Flickr. And we've got students in grade 10 and 12 who are showing their knowledge through a variety of ways, not just through pictures, but combining video as well as sound components. It's about student choice. It's not about teachers needing to learn about the tools the students are choosing. It's about getting out of their way, realizing we are the ones who know what the student misconceptions are. We have that professionalism within us. That's where we need to support our students. It's not about being the one who knows the most in the class. Those days are decades behind us.
Thank you, Tanis.
So get out of their way and let them shine. That seems to be a pretty resounding message. So my statement about how learning is enhanced and how it is enhanced by technology, I thought about it, how best to exemplify and to make that statement meaningful was to approach students. So I went to one student in our school, Rio Serbo, and I just gave him that one statement. And then I got out of his way and let him go with it. And so the result of what you see here is what he created in his time with fellow students. He planned it from start to finish. In the span of 2 afternoons, he had gone around and completed this video that you're about to see.
So Google Drive's pretty much my binder. We use it throughout our class, other parts in the school. I use it for personal stuff, such as a job. It's nice for work, nice for collaborating. It's a really big time saver and space saver also. You still have lots of space around you with it. You don't have to schlep around a binder. Pretty easy to set up. It's nice because you can collaborate and work on the exact same stuff with people at the same time, no matter where you are in the world or what you're doing. It's very easy to catch up on work, especially with our whole flex system, how we set our own stuff up, we get taught for 2 days and choose our schedule for the rest. Working with other people and then having 1 + 1 = 2, we can have 1 + 1 = 3, or 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = around 15 because of the amount of work that we're just generating throughout Google Drive it's ridiculous, but it's very productive and very helpful for us.
When it comes to a technology, I think a lot of people are afraid of it. I think that sometimes we see it as something too big and something too difficult in terms of trying to get it to work in our classrooms. I don't think technology should ever replace teaching, and even the traditional teaching I think is valuable, but I think it's there to enhance and help us. I think when technology can create efficiencies and help with the editing and the nudging of work and making sure that students are able to produce their best work and making learning a little easier for students, making it more collaborative, maybe more interesting, more exciting, I think that's what we're trying to do.
For me, it's not actually the specific devices and the technology that is the most important thing. Over time, teachers, schools, just people in general have evolved their way of thinking in terms of learning, and what technology allows us to do is to meet all of those needs that we have for all these different ways of learning that we want kids to have, all these different experiences. Technology allows all of those possibilities to actually happen.
Okay, so Google Drive is pretty much my pen and paper. I don't really need much more than that to function throughout the day at school, or when I grow up and I get a job and everything. I won't really need to worry about using pen and paper and all that and going all old-fashioned, old-school ways because of how I use Google Drive now. It's my way of working throughout school. It's a big part of my life now. It's ever since I got it started here. It's a huge impact, not just on me, but on my class, especially on my teacher. Since it's saved through the cloud, it's constantly saving second after second. Every time you put one letter, get rid of something, it's always saved. You don't have to worry about losing it. There can't be that excuse that, oh, I forgot it, or, oh, I'll hand it in tomorrow because I forgot it at home, or I don't have it with me, or even things like my computer crashed. There's still part of it there. It's whatever you had, it's still there. It gets rid of a lot of those excuses for students that shouldn't be there.
I find it a lot easier to do group projects. Like me and Eric work together all the time in group projects, and I guess you just do your answers. Each person kind of divides the work and it gets it done faster, and then since it's on Google Drive, you can have multiple people on there at the same time, so it all works, and you can edit each other's stuff and you help each other out, change each other's answers.
Very easy for collaboration. It's very easy to work together, and it's easier to get better marks, I guess. Because if somebody didn't do it right, you can make it better, and if someone did it good, then you get it good.
So technology really helps me in school because it opens the doors for us in different avenues, so it helps to keep me engaged by just having the ability to do what I want when I want to do it, unlike as before where you could only use the computer lab once or twice a cycle. Now we get to we have our devices and iPads and things within the classroom that allow us to be engaged and to do what we want.
Technology makes me more engaged in school and during class, and it makes school more fun because you get to collaborate with your friends, and it just helps with teachers as well because it helps the ratio of when students get to help and talk to teachers and when teachers get to help and talk to students.
So technology has impacted me in my school life, just probably most dramatically in just the ability to do what I want in school.
Technology, mainly Google Drive, has helped me study for massive tests a lot more than just the traditional way of looking off of a piece of paper, because with Google Drive, instead of bringing a bundle of paper everywhere you go, you can just take your device anywhere there's Wi-Fi, or if you have a phone, you can just go onto your phone, study wherever you are. So it helps a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Carrying home like 15-pound backpacks, and then instead of just like a half-pound phone. And then, I would always lose all my papers and stuff, so I'd come to school and have to ask for like 4 more because I'd lose them all, and then so now I can't lose it because it's just on my Google Drive. So.
And it helps save the environment, so it's always good.
Environment.
So with Rio, who's the young man I approached, here's a young man who, in our school, actually does PD for teachers. If you caught what he said, when he brought Google Drive into his classroom, he was the one who approached the teacher and showed the teacher how it's beneficial. And Joe Martin, the grade 9 teacher now, I've been in his class a few times, and he's showing me how he is able to, in real time, respond to students' questions, to assist them in their editing, to provide them with instant feedback, so they are always able to, again, improve their work and share their work with others and to take it to another level. And so, again, having real, and in fact, pretty much all of those students have presented PD opportunities. So that's something that we say when we talk about the creativity. Part of it is we just have to let the kids go, and we have to trust in what they're doing, because they're willing to share and they do have the knowledge. Thank you.
So my opening statement was that mobile technology is supporting the change of educational spaces, and I think that was really beautifully illustrated by both videos. In the first video, you had students engaging in spaces that have nothing to do with walls, and they have nothing to do with desks and rows. And in the second video that you saw our students put together, they're working within a virtual environment, helping each other, collaborating together. With the introduction of mobile technology, we now have the possibility to learn anytime, anywhere. We no longer have to get to school to get at the knowledge. That information is carried around with us in our pockets 24 hours a day. So realizing that students have such access to information gives us an opportunity to redefine not only how and what we teach, but the spaces in which we teach, and we can rethink those educational spaces. In terms of physical layout, which is often the first thing that we would consider, it doesn't make sense anymore to have the focus of the classroom be at the front. Instead, as students increasingly work in collaborative groups, you might have pods, 3 or 4 different pods of focus, and a teacher would then circulate between those pods, offering advice, facilitating learning, and acting as a model of what a master learner should really look like. Desks and orderly rows start to give way to furniture with flexible uses and configurations. Interactivity is important within the space. The students need to be able to collaborate around devices and around writing surfaces. And it starts to look more like a studio space than a traditional classroom. So as this happens, the line between the classroom and the rest of the school blurs. Students are able to work more independently, investigating questions that they're passionate about answering, and they're often seen working in the hallway on devices or with cameras and video cameras, either documenting what they've learned or expressing their new knowledge in a new way. And every last inch of the school really becomes a potential workplace for students as they seek flexibility and independence. As mobile technology supports inquiry-based learning, traditional ideas of learning spaces are further challenged as it becomes necessary to move beyond the physical walls of the school to access community resources, experts, and experiences. Students might move from community mentorship opportunities to virtual chats or FaceTime interviews with experts from people on the other side of the globe. Students might even take their learning into virtual spaces where they can design their own learning environments in collaboration with others both near and far. A grade 6 boys learning about World War I might choose to recreate the German and Allied trenches using a virtual learning environment like Minecraft. And in fact, I had a group of students that did exactly that. They're able to investigate their own questions that they're interested in, recreate an environment in a way that was really inconceivable even just a few years ago, and then to be able to take that virtual environment to a community expert and have him look at it, and they can actually physically walk the expert through. So these are experiences that weren't available to students even a few years ago. So the virtual environments that you see in places like Minecraft and in the Google Documents, as demonstrated by our own students, are really quite powerful, and students then become their own architects of their own learning environments. James Paul Gee, who's a professor at Arizona State University, refers to something called affinity spaces. And these are online spaces where people of all ages and abilities gather to share knowledge about specific topics that they're interested in. These might be blogs, a forum, a YouTube station. These learning spaces allow for various degrees of participation. You might seek an answer to a question in these spaces, or perhaps you might offer the answer. You might be a lurker, quietly gathering information, or you might be running the space, There are different levels of engagement accommodated in these spaces, but there's a place for each type of learner. These virtual spaces might present the greatest inspiration we have for rethinking what our educational spaces look like. We have to be willing to move beyond thinking of schools and classrooms as brick and mortar, as desks and chairs. The educational spaces enabled by mobile devices don't have walls.
Okay, and to end with what we're saying is we need a philosophical shift. We need to move away from pedagogy as the hierarchical way that we look at the classroom and we organize educational information to herdagogy. So, and it's spelled like that, not H-E-R-D. So everybody needs to say it now, herdagogy. That's good. Good learning has taken place. Thanks for the laugh, Tanis. So herdagogy places specific emphasis on learning how to learn. Double loop learning, non-linear process that focuses on learner self-direction, where pedagogy focuses on distributed learning and what is the best way to learn. Herdagogy requires that educational initiatives include improvement of actual learning skills themselves, learning how to learn, as well as learning the subject matter. Pedagogy focuses on structured education. In a herdagogy, all learning contexts, both formal and informal, are considered. So the herdagogical environment, the role of the teacher becomes that of mentor, providing an ongoing relationship of learning, dialogue, and change. Education must take advantage of this whole new learning, like we have a whole new Europe with books. Whole new thinking and whole new vision spaces afforded to learners through technology. We must become herdagogues to engage today's learners. And if everybody would come to the middle, I guess. And hello, Tanis. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Or comments. Or noises, if you want to just, you can do a sequential noise together. Yes.
In the shift that you've been describing, Peggy, you're out of the picture, by the way. Yeah, that's right. Teachers often have a tough time sorting out to honor what the kids bring, what the students are learning, what they are initiating, and still understanding themselves to be the professional in the room, still understanding themselves to be the learning leader in some way. They're the ones who are taking the check home at the end of the month. Can you share a little bit, as a principal or vice principal or teacher, how you've encountered that struggle on the part of teachers? Was it clear what you meant by the question?
Certainly at Henry Izett School, there is a continuum of learners and there is a continuum of teaching skills. And we have, just as we talk about that environment of learning from each other, that's happening at all levels. Just have to gather my thoughts. How they've addressed it is actually the students helped them address it, and they said, we clearly want you to be the leader of the content. You need to tell us what we need to learn, what we need to focus on, what topic we're on, and let us pick the way we're going to demonstrate the learning to you. So I think that's the operating focus in our school, that the teachers clearly are in charge of the content. It's just delivered in increasingly different ways, and the innovation is in what the students can pick to demonstrate their learning.
I'll try to add to that. As a teacher and a teacher librarian, I think that it's important to focus on always taking students to the next step. So wherever it is that they are in their understanding, and whether you've provided the content to them or they've come up with some content that they would like to investigate, it's important to always push them to the next level of their knowledge, and to know that as the teacher in the room, as a professional in the room, that's really your job, is to give them the skills that they need to find out more, to expand their thinking, to look at things more critically, to examine issues for bias, to look at information and to know, is it good information or is it bad information, and to have that sort of media awareness piece. I think that's maybe where our biggest role as educators is right now, is in helping students understand the many messages that they're sort of bombarded with every day, and they come in text forms, they come in forms of video and music, you know, cartoons, all kinds of ways that those messages are being portrayed to students, and to have them be able to examine those critically and think critically about them. So as a teacher and a teacher librarian, that's definitely been my focus. And I think if you asked the majority of teachers in our school, they would probably say the same thing, that they're engaging with students and trying to promote critical thinking skills foremost.
I think there also becomes the realization that we can't know everything that's out there. And once we realize that, we know we have to give up the idea that we are going to be the expert. So that is along the continuum. And once we give up the idea that we are the expert, we're still the lesson planner, we're still going to be the deliverer of information to our students, but they're going to help us learn some of the methods as well.
Does that answer your question?
I guess I just have a question about how far you can get out of the way with students. And I know that we hear this message from Scott McLeod on the video. We hear it from Sugata Mitra, who just won this big award with the hole in the wall. Get out of the students' way, provide the opportunity for them, and get out of the way. And I like that message. I think that there's importance in making sure that you do get out of students' way, if that means giving them time to be able to work with the technology and to come up with an outcome of some sort. For example, the video that we saw, or whatever the case may be. My question is about the get out of the way mindset. What do you do when you do get back in the way? When you do go back and take a look at what the students have created, how does that relate to the broader sense of a system or an expectation? What if they've created something that doesn't easily fit what is mandated or required? Sometimes that's okay, no problem. You created something original and new. But other times they're going to come up with something that's radically different, and it's not going to help you in terms of being able to move forward. So the short version of that, how do you assess what comes out of the process when you get out of their way?
Can I go first, Tanis? Okay. That's an interesting question. I think there's definitely a point when you're too far out of the way, right? And I think sort of thinking about those comments that I just made to answer this gentleman's question over here is that you definitely have to be there to provide critical thinking skills and make sure students are looking at things critically. In terms of having students create something that's not particularly mandated, the group of grade 6 boys that I had last year that recreated the World War I trenches using Minecraft, that wasn't exactly mandated as part of any curriculum document as far as I can tell. But the learning that happened there, the learning cycle in terms of they needed to investigate what did the trenches actually look like. Who can we talk to about that? What resources can we access? The going back and revising of the work, so the editing process was there. That whole inquiry process, the reflection that was constantly there. So instead of looking at things in terms of content all the time, maybe looking at the process. And I think when people talk about getting out of the way, if you're too far out of the way, you're definitely not monitoring for that learning process. So you do need to be there to ensure that that reflection is happening, that revising is going on. And sometimes students will create something that you're not exactly sure what to do with. You're not as sure how to evaluate it. My solution to that is to take them to another expert, is to find somebody in the community. And I actually took, there was 4 or 5 boys that worked on that project. I took them to the Minto Armory, and they talked to the museum curator there, and they walked him through their World War I virtual trenches, and he said, that looks great, that's great, this is completely wrong. And in terms of feedback, I had given them the same gentle feedback, providing them resources to revise their work. They weren't having any of it from me. Of course, taking them down to talk to somebody in uniform seemed to have helped. It often does, yeah. So, I think you have to realize that students will recognize when you're not an expert on a subject, and you have to then, as a teacher, know where to go with that. Where can I take my students so that they can access an expert and they can get meaningful and authentic feedback? And they were fighting in the car on the way back to the school, can I have the laptop so I can fix my trenches? So that's powerful learning. And in terms of, like, I didn't know where that project was going to go. I did very much step back and let them learn on their own with some gentle guidance. But yeah, it's definitely a case of knowing when you need to step in and how to step in.
Okay, Tanis.
Okay. Definitely, I want to repeat what was just said about making sure that as an expert, if you're not the expert, that you draw in those individuals from the community that are experts. I love that example. I know I had a student when I was teaching a business class who I had no knowledge, zero, about business and how it ran. But I knew about the mathematics that helped behind the budgeting process. So I hooked up that student with a community business leader. Had I not done that, we would have focused on simple procedural mathematics when my student really wanted to know how is a business run. So he got a much bigger picture from that. I know as well, having taught high school, that as teachers in high school in particular, you feel like you might be walking with one foot in two different worlds. You know that at some point for certain topics there is a standardized exam. But you also know, and gosh, I hope as teachers that we have the opportunity to teach our students that they do not need to define themselves by their grades or by a grade on a standardized exam. They are so much more than that. So yes, we are still accountable to whatever provincial mandates there are, but that is not the big picture for our students. And thankfully, that is where a model like this, where shifting from the idea of knowledge brokers, where we're the encyclopedia and we flip our mental pages to find answers, shifting that to becoming, as David so pronounces it so lovely, as pedagogues, supporting that learning, but it's the focus on the student driving that learning, and we're the ones that are figuring out, are they meeting the outcomes? We're still holding them accountable to provincial curriculum and standardized tests, whatever those may be.
And just one last example, Rio, who created that video on the provincial outcomes, was not passing language arts and social studies and was not engaged in school. And through the relationship with his teacher that we've talked about in many places today, through that relationship and the discussion, well, what if we did it this way? Rio became very engaged in school and helped his teacher set up a Google Docs system for the whole class, got everybody a Gmail, and is very proud, but he is now turning in all his work, and it is very good work.
Anybody else? Are we good? And we have 1 minute?
No, we're done.
We're good. Oh, yeah, sources. Although we could have just made all this up. Thank you.